We are the anchors of Queer News Tonight, and this evening we discuss the queer headlines.
Florida classrooms now allow LGBTQ plus discussions after the Don't Say Gay law. The court settlement clarifies the law parameters. Equality Florida hails this as a huge success.
Study reveals a surge in bisexuality among Americans, tripling since the 1990s, indicating changing sexual orientations and societal acceptance.
RuPaul steps down as host of Drag Race Down Under and is replaced by Michelle Visage. Though RuPaul remains an executive producer, fans wonder what the change means.
A surprising survey of the LGBTQ plus Americans shows 0 as radical liberals and 10 as radical conservatives. LGBTQ plus Americans are 3.9, in the very middle. What does it mean for November elections?
Good evening. Welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ plus daily evening television news show, broadcasting live and available on demand. Available on all smart televisions, including Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, Amazon Fire TV, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. It's time to queer up the news for Tuesday, March 12th, 2024. We are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we are going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ plus evening news show. Whatever happens, unique in LGBTQ plus news, you will see it and hear it.
Hotspots Magazine Happening Out Television Network is a nonprofit 501c3 media company in the same model of PBS and NPR, but designed for the LGBTQ plus community. Our mission is to support the 11 pillars of our LGBTQ plus community. We want to inform and educate the key issues of our queer culture, the Black community, Latino lesbians, queer women, trans, students, youth, seniors, HIV/AIDS healthcare, business, social justice and faith, and in many cases, so much more. Help us support our community.
We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ plus nonprofit media companies in America, Hotspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network.
In 2024, our magazine is celebrating 40 years of the LGBTQ plus experience in our television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ plus and broader community.
Let's meet tonight's anchors at Queer News Tonight. Let's welcome back Adrianna Tender, the program coordinator with Trans Inclusive Group and owner of Tender Loving Care Trans Mentoring. She serves on the National Board of Governors of the Human Rights Campaign and is vice president of the Dolphin Democrats and on the board of Black LGBTQ Liberation. Adrianna Trans Inclusive Group has teamed up with Pride Center, Ariana Center, Mackenzie Project, and Trans Social for a special Trans Day of Visibility celebration March 28th. Tell me more about it.
So, Transgender Day of Visibility is normally on March 31st, but we are observing it on the 28th, and it's going to be at the Pride Center. From 6:30 to 7 o'clock, we'll have refreshments, and starting promptly at 7 o'clock, we will have speakers and dancers and all types of amazing entertainment there at the Pride Center, showing all types of trans joy and trans liberation. It will be amazing.
And I see it's hosted by one of our other Queer News Tonight anchors, Faye Watt, who is absolutely fabulous. So if you are watching from home, please go and get your tickets for the Transgender Day of Visibility. Thank you, Adrianna. Let's welcome Bobby Blair. He is a former top-ranked junior collegiate and world-ranked professional tennis player in the 1980s, which included a victory over Wimbledon champion Pat Cash. He managed world team tennis with Billie Jean King and is a business training expert. He had successful LGBTQ plus publications like Next, Frontiers, and Fun Maps, and launched LGBTQ plus Loyalty Holdings. Now in Fort Lauderdale, he's a GLBT International Hall of Fame member. Bobby, so good to see you again. Happy to have you back. The Master Chorale of South Florida has a special Pride concert called Considering Matthew Shepard. Tell me more about it and what's happening.
Well, it's going to be an incredible Friday, May 31st and Saturday, June 1st, 8 p.m. right here at the Cathedral. And I just think it's tremendous that the legacy of Matthew Shepard is alive and well. Congrats to the parents who have been tirelessly traveling across the country doing amazing things to keep the story alive. And so many people have been so positively impacted on his story. And I just think that anything that has the Matthew Shepard name associated with, it's worth all of us supporting. And I hope everybody comes out. I sure know I'm going to be there Friday night.
Absolutely. You could go to sunshinecathedral.org to find out more information on that concert. It will be on June 1st. Let's welcome James Lyons IV. He is a political scientist and entrepreneur and co-founded a family real estate brokerage. In 2023, he established Lyons Labs to empower diverse small business owners and community leaders in navigating the evolving landscape of artificial intelligence and emerging technologies. James, it is always a pleasure to have you at the roundtable. I always say that I feel a step smarter up after I read your bio, so it's happy to have you here. Is there anything you want to talk to us about?
Yeah, I'm really excited. Next week, I'm going to be stopping by the Sun Serve Young Professionals Mixer. It's going to be March 20th from 6 to 8 p.m. at Drink in Wilton Manors.
All right, so check James out there. Let's welcome Will Haas. He serves as the president of the Bears of South Florida. They are out in South Florida's best social group in South Florida. Will is a seasoned bi-coastal real estate professional with experience in Fort Lauderdale, Wilton Manors, and Naples, Marco Islands locations. Will, I understand you and the Bears of South Florida are getting ready to cruise, sounds promising, honey, and have a bon voyage party at Hunter's on March 29th. Tell me more about it.
So the Bears are going to sea. So we're in the Navy. So we're going to have a party on the 29th as a kickoff at Hunter's from 5 to 7. And then we have a 6-day cruise on a Celebrity Apex. There's about 50 guys going, mostly Bears. It's going to be a lot of fun.
And of course, this is tonight's lead anchor, Eric Restivo. He is well known for DJing at some of the largest clubs in West Hollywood. And I remember you when we ran and owned and operated Frontiers Magazine. You were the hot stuff.
Thank you.
Anyways,
Still hot.
And you know what's happened? You're now on Wilton Drive and you've started your own show. You've had all this incredible stuff happening in P-Town, NYC, and now Wilton Manors. He is the new television host of the W Boys, focusing on LGBTQ plus love for entertainment. Watch Out Entertainment tonight, premiering March 15th, etc. The pub has just announced on Easter Sunday party that is going to be hosted by you and Faye Watt on March 31st. Tell us what's happening.
Yes, it's my first time hosting this event on Easter, and it's an Easter bonnet bunny contest. I think the winner is it's a sexy bunny contest, and I don't think it's going to be that tough to judge or host. So come on out on Easter when you're just at that point of being sick of your family and come spend the night with us. Adrianna, I did want to just come back to you because there was one more event that we wanted to touch on, and it's a very important one. So tell me about it.
Yes, we all know how important it is to get out and vote. And the Dauphin Democrats will be having their membership meeting on tomorrow at 6:30, and we'd love to see all of you there. We're going to have State Representative Christine Hanshofsky, as well as Tina Polsky. It's going to be amazing, and I want everybody to come. And oh yeah, just in case that's not good enough, we're going to have pizza.
I mean, who doesn't love pizza? Check-in starts at 6:30 p.m. and the meeting starts at 7.
Yes.
Thank you, Adrianna.
Thank you.
We are the reporters for Queer News Tonight, and this evening we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ plus community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast, and here are the bullet points of the queer news for Tuesday, March 12th, 2024. Next, let's queer up entertainment. New pop culture show The W Boys, WEHO to Wilton, premieres March 15th here. Hotspots Magazine and Happening Out. Entertainment Tonight has been a staple on television for more than 40 years, but truly, there is nothing like it for the LGBTQ plus community. No place where we can talk about the queer slant on movies, television, Broadway, music, gossip, fashion fails, and so much more. Well, honey, that is all about to change, as I am the new host with some other guy, I can't remember his name. Oh wait, John Hayden. It's called the W Boys, and what does W stand for? Of course, it's WEHO, and of course, it's Wilton. These two iconic gay communities will contribute to the W Boys. I am a longtime resident of Santa Monica Boulevard in WeHo, and John Hayden is a longtime resident of Wilton Drive. Together, nothing is off our table.
Next, let's queer up students and youth culture.
I'm Eric Restivo from WeHo. I'm John Hayden from Wilton, and we are the W Boys.
Fridays, we'll be taking you through our favorite LGBTQ plus stories, focusing on entertainment, pop culture, celebrity scandals, and fashion.
What? It's my cabana wear. I just got back from a cruise. We'll see you Fridays on Happening Out.
Yes, we are super, super excited for our debut on Friday. We have already, I don't want to give too much away, but we've gotten some incredible celebrity interviews coming your way. Adrianna, we have to talk to you, honey. So it's just going to be your one-stop shop for everything LGBTQ, entertainment, movies, gossip. We're recapping the Oscars this week, so it's going to be the show to watch. So tune in here March 15th, Friday. We'll see you there.
You have your outfit picked out?
I have many outfits picked out. I think that I'm changing 3 times in the first episode. So yeah, each segment is going to be a different theme. So our first segment will be topical and different discussions on everything going on. The second segment will be a celebrity interview, local or not so local celebrities. And then the third block will be kind of where we embarrass ourselves and we do TikTok challenges or the Buffalo Hot Wings challenge where we see how hot we can take the wings.
Oh my goodness.
We're going to do prompter wars to see who can read the prompter faster. It's going to be a wild time, and we will also have a drinking word of the day. So if you're watching from home, drinking is encouraged.
I think watch out Dancing with the South Florida Stars. We need you and John. I've got something up my sleeve for you.
Oh my God. Well, I am someone who is a fan of sleeves and sleeveless. So I am game. Let me know.
All right. That's really good.
I just hope that John is wearing that shirt that he was wearing in the video.
Oh, yeah.
Is he going to be changing 3 times as well, or just you?
Probably just me. I think that I am the beauty and he is my beast, honey. That's all.
No.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I love John Hayden. This is our ongoing banter that we have established here, but he loves that shirt, by the way. So the confidence in standing behind the decision to wear it is something we can all adapt into our lives a little bit more.
Well, I definitely can't wait to see y'all be talking about fashion. So you're going to be recapping the Oscars?
The Oscars, honey.
All the fashion?
All of the LGBTQ plus celebrity fashion. Because, listen, there will be a few allies that we point out with their fashions. I didn't love Ariana Grande's dress. You know, I consider her an ally. We'll talk about that. But this is a show to spotlight LGBTQ plus. There's enough of everything else.
So you'll definitely be talking about Laverne's dress.
Oh, she's number 2 on the list.
Ooh.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Well, sounds incredibly exciting. So let's queer up students and youth culture. Is Florida Don't Say Gay over? Well, here is what really happened. Yesterday, everything changed for Florida schools, and LGBTQ plus Florida classrooms will now permit discussions on sexual orientation and gender identity after constraints put by the state's controversial Don't Say Gay law. According to the Associated Press, the agreement establishes clear parameters for discussing LGBTQ plus topics in educational setup. The settlement outlines permissible conversations concerning sexual orientation and gender identity within Florida's classrooms. This comes in response to a law enacted 2 years ago that restricted instruction on these subjects. Critics of the law contended that it left educators uncertain about whether openly identifying as LGBTQ+ or displaying related symbols like rainbow stickers in educational settings violated the legislation. As per the settlement, the Florida Board of Education will issue instructions to all school districts clarifying that the law does not prohibit discussions about LGBTQ plus individuals, nor does it hinder the adoption of anti-bullying measures based on sexual orientation and gender identity. We're getting strides here. Moreover, it allows the formation of gay-straight alliance groups. The agreement specifies that the law applies equality to both LGBTQ plus heterosexual individuals and does not cover library materials not directly used in classroom teaching. We really need to listen to what that's saying. The settlement says that conversations on sexual orientation and gender identity are allowed as long as they are not part of formal instruction. Here's where I'm getting a little concerned. Nadine Smith, Executive Director of Equality Florida, praised the legal victory and hailed the strength of collective action. Scott Galvin, the Executive Director of Safe Schools, said the significance for LGBTQ plus youth can hardly be understood in its value. Queer News Tonight anchor and Out South Florida senior reporter John Hayden, who's really always on top of these things, spoke to Gavin moments after the settlement.
Power of the Don't Say Gay law 2 years ago when it was enacted was in its vagueness. You weren't quite sure as a teacher what you were or were not allowed to do. What today's ruling does is clarifies. It states a lot of the things that can be done. From our standpoint, having the gay straight alliances be allowed to meet again is super huge. Teachers now know they can put, pride flags in their classroom. They can put pictures of a spouse on a desk. It wipes away the real power of the law. And while I would have rather seen the entire law just be thrown out, at least this is a major step at clarifying a lot of the things that were left to the imagination. And that fear of the unknown is what made teachers and schools so very afraid. But there will always be bigots who try to block things like gay straight alliances from happening or pride clubs or anything like that inside of a school. It's never going to be, it never was an easy blank slate. But this goes a long way towards clarifying. And school districts can be big. You take Dade, you take Broward or Tallahassee. Even in schools where administrators previously were sort of friendly, even they were sort of cowed into not knowing what they can do. Even if this only opens up half of the schools in some of those more conservative districts to being willing to do GSA and LGBT stuff, that's a huge step forward. I didn't think we were going to be back here at this moment now for another 10 years. Safe Schools is going to throw a party. I mean, legitimately, we're going to dust off the big old Empowerment Day events that we used to do. We pay for it all. We invite the schools. We pay for their buses and their pizza, and the panelists come in and talk. We're going to immediately do that again. April was our traditional month. Well, it looks like we're right on time to be able to do it again this April. So we're gonna celebrate this major advancement, it's a big moment, John. I really didn't think we'd get anywhere near this for several years. And again, I wish that the entire law was just thrown out. But for those who want to support the LGBT and queer youth in their schools, we're going to be here to help them do that at the best levels we possibly can.
I mean, listen, he mentioned a bunch of great points there, right? So we all wish that the law was just thrown away, but we have to celebrate small wins, and we have to appreciate the fact that groups like the Gay Straight Alliance are extremely important in middle school, high school, whatever it is. We just need more change. So in my mind, I want to believe that we're only going to go up from here. But of course, there's that voice in the back of my head that is kind of saying, is this a distraction to something else? Are we going to take a step forward and then take 3 steps back? I'm interested to hear what you all have to say and think about it.
Well, I think, having spent the last 5 years working with Barney Frank, who's been prolific for our community and, helping us establish the ETF and index on the New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, it was about what he always said in our board meetings. We have to take the tiny, tiny steps. If he learned anything in his 40 years, making change on Congress and leading Dodd-Frank and leading the banking financial system, his goal was to make the tiny, tiny necessary baby steps every day, every week, every month, every year. And I think as long as our momentum is going in towards our benefit, and this is a little more than a baby step, but I think it's in the right direction. And I think it's now time to put the gas on the pedal, because at the end of the day, or the pedal on the gas, because we need to build this momentum and keep pushing for even more change. I didn't really like the concept of not able to do instruction, because what are teachers there to do but instruct and teach? So I still feel like teachers may be on eggshells.
There's a little bit of a gray area now, but at least we're moving forward in the right direction. It went from black and white to the gray in the middle, but moving it forward to us. And like you said, little tiny steps lead to big steps, lead to leaps. So, I think it's a good move for us and a safe move, especially for these kids.
I totally agree.
And I think that I hope eventually we'll stop being on the defensive all the time. And I hope that we'll take this win, and I hope that we'll keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing further and seeing what will happen, because it's great that, there's so many parents that are gay or that are trans, that are affected by this, that they wouldn't be able to, their children wouldn't be able to talk about their parents, and so many other things that this affects. And I'm glad to see that this is happening. But I just hope that we continue to push and be like, okay, not that, we won, and let it go and move on to something else.
The work's not done.
Right, because sometimes in this community, we'll go from one thing and we'll talk about it for a while and we'll advocate for it for a while, and then we'll move on to the next thing. I hope that we'll stay on this and keep pushing forward.
Yeah, and on that, I like what you said about we need to get off of the defensive, and I do think it's time we shift gears to the offensive.
Yes.
And I actually have a copy of the settlement agreement. My partner is a teacher, and they sent this out to the teachers today. And so one of the things I find particularly fascinating, and I'll just read from this, is it says, the statute applies equally regardless of viewpoint. Put differently, the statute restricts classroom instruction on sexual orientation and gender identity, not homosexuality and transgender identity. For example, it would violate the statute to instruct students that heterosexuality is superior or that gender identity is immutable based on biological traits. And so in that regard, to simplify this, it's basically saying it's illegal to say that being trans is wrong. It is against their policy to say being straight is better than being gay. And so I think that actually gives us now opportunity to go on the offense and say, are there schools that are violating this non-discrimination part of this settlement? And how can we, again, as far as I can tell, I don't think any of us here are teachers, and we have to go back to that as well, right? What is this doing for the teachers in the classroom, right? That is a sigh of relief for them. Whew, I can exist in my place of employment, right? And for the children, it also is saying you have a right to exist and your elders have a right to exist in this space. And so I think, we have to take the win. And I think it is bigger than we are necessarily making it out to be, because a lot of folks aren't going to read the nitty-gritty details of the legislation and say, how can we take this from defense to let's flip this around and say, no, this is the agreement you guys made, and you're not holding up to your part of the bargain in terms of non-discrimination.
And I think your statement is a celebration of equality, because they've just said now, straight kids, gay kids, trans, we're all equal. It's equal. They're all the same. Nobody's better, less, worse. It's a celebration of equality.
Yes.
And that's why shows like this, like you're just talking about what you just read, we have to get the word out to everybody.
Absolutely.
And shows like this allows us to broadcast it to the whole world.
Absolutely.
So we're very lucky to have a show like this.
It's a very important platform for these issues specifically. And beautifully said, by the way.
Thank you.
Love listening to it. I really do.
Thank you.
Now let's queer up the USA view. 1 in 10 Americans have a history of bisexual experience, reflecting a shift in sexual landscape. A new study published in the Journal of Sex Research has reported a significant rise in the number of Americans identifying as bisexual or engaging in bisexual behavior. The research utilized data from the General Social Survey encompassing over 32,000 participants. The study indicates that 9.6% of respondents reported having both male and female partners, a striking increase of 3 times larger as compared to the 1990s. Interestingly, more participants identified as bisexual than gay or lesbian, showcasing shifting sexual orientations. Using regression analysis, researchers assess the relationship between sexual orientation, behavior, and gender. They discovered a rise in bisexual identification, surpassing gay or lesbian identification. However, there was a reverse trend in sexual partners, with more reporting inclusively same-sex partners. Women were more likely than men to report bisexuality. Younger demographics, particularly those under 30, displayed higher rates of bisexual identification. Researchers attribute these shifts to a more accepting societal landscape and evolving attitudes toward LGBTQ plus individuals. They stress the fluidity of sexual orientation and the importance of acknowledging individual experiences and self-identification. The study calls for further research to understand social constructs of sexual identity. Phew, y'all, that was really
a mouthful, honey, right? But you did it.
It truly was. I'm not sure if things are changing so much as to people are just feeling more comfortable about coming out and speaking the truth.
I have to agree. I've been around bisexuals for a long time, and just because they might be in hiding doesn't mean that they have not been around. So I have to agree with you there. I think that what the environment that the world is right now, it's just more of a, ironically, not so much here in South Florida, but it's more of a acceptance on whom you can love, who you want, who you choose to love, and your chosen family. And I think that bisexuality goes all the way back to that.
Yeah, and I as a proud bi man, I also want to add to that. I think even in, you guys are gonna roll your eyes when I say this, but even in my lifetime, I've seen a shift in the sort of biphobia that we see.
Why are we
in
rolling our eyes? Because you're so young.
Not to be shady, but
yeah.
you know, I feel like even within the queer community, there is a lot of biphobia. You hear people being like, "Oh, you just pick a side." Like I've heard things like that, and I'm only 25, so it's like, you know, I think there is a point to what you're saying about shifting societal perspectives and kind of coming to understand that people have different experiences with not just their sexuality, but gender that also complicate their experiences with sexuality. Right. And just a more broad, open mindset that we as a community are starting to adapt that I think allows people in our community to more comfortably accept or take on that label. Mm-hmm. Also noting that is the biggest label in the LGBTQ. We are the biggest demographic in that. So shout out to my fellow bi.
Shout out to the bees, honey.
Well, you know, it says, you know, the study from 1994, but I also think that the introduction of PrEP makes people feel more comfortable that they can actually experiment in who they are and feel comfortable in that phase too. So
yeah, that safety net wasn't there, you know, at some point. So,
you know, I kind of think that the younger people, even me at 59, I'm starting to feel comfortable without the necessity to identify in one of the categories where I would feel so good, where everybody could enter this world exactly who they are, how they were born to be, they're living their truth, and that there's not all of this necessary legislation that's required and rules that are required for just everybody to be welcomed and treated totally equal. So it kind of goes back to this, to what the dream is. When we stop talking about these labels and these identifications, we've really arrived, because we've made it. When it's not big news that an athlete comes out as gay, or you know, Bruce Jenner turns into Caitlyn Jenner, when it's not big news, you've arrived, we've arrived, everything you've been fighting for has arrived. And, you know, the identification process has been very stressful to me, because I, like you, a professional athlete, I felt like I was straight, bi, now I'm gay. Well, I was something all along. I probably, you know, I'm now 100% gay, or my partner would kill me. But the issue is, I'm not a huge fan of all of this self-identification, because it still tells the world that we have so much work to do to be accepted, and we have to fight, and we have to do all this. Yes, we have to do it. Mm-hmm. But won't it be great in our lifetime if the fighting stops?
I wonder.
We've arrived.
I wonder where pansexual fits in with this.
It fits. You know, I mean,
like,
you know,
with the data.
Yeah. Oh, with the data, I don't.
Like, would that be like bisexual?
So
It would probably have to be its own study. I
Yeah,
would
it would
think.
be.
Yeah.
From my understanding, it seems that they likely asked a series of questions that got experiences and then labeled folks on a spectrum from straight to gay, with bisexual being like a point in the middle.
Which is what you were on, the spectrum.
I was on the spectrum, and now I'm happily in love for 20 years with an African-American boyfriend. So I'm the Watusi. I'm white, I'm older, I was straight, bi, gay, in love with a black man. So we walk in a restaurant in Mobile, Alabama. We're still nervous. I'm hoping one day that they'll like give us a free dinner because they're so happy to see us, right? So I just hope that one day we can stop self-identifying and know that the world accepts us. I don't know if in our lifetime, mine, yours, but the only way it's going to happen is because of people like you who lead your organizations, people like you that share the news, and your youth that's just so inspiring, so smart, so articulate, so beautiful. People will listen, and then maybe the fight becomes a win, and we just celebrate. Wouldn't that be nice?
It would be nice.
I like that.
It would be nice.
I think there is also something too about the frustration with language, I think, and this is something I think, to keep this short and not go on too long of a rant, this is something I think about a lot, is how does the language we are born speaking limit the ways we can describe things, right? So we're all here, we're speaking English, our viewers are listening to this show in English. We are limited by the fact that we were raised and have come to think in a language that has a gender binary, for example, and that has certain concepts, and, you know, we speak about male, female, and we assign that to all kinds of things. And so a lot of languages don't actually have gendered pronouns, right? So they might not have a he or she, everyone is they. And for people who speak those languages and then learn English, they struggle with the he, she differentiation because it's not something they have had to conceptualize before. And so I always wonder, what are the words people use to describe themselves in those languages, and how differently might we conceptualize our own experiences with gender and identity if we weren't limited by this colonial language that clouds our view?
I would hope that one day it would be called human being, and all that's not necessary. That would be neat. One word, universal. We're all human beings. We're all created to live our truth. Live it.
Live it.
I got nothing else to add, honey. I'm like, I agree with everyone's opinion at this table on this article. So for me, I think that we are ready to move on.
Great. Well, then in that case, next, let's queer up drag culture. What does it mean? Michelle Visage officially replaces RuPaul as host of Drag Race Down Under. After overseeing 3 seasons of RuPaul's Drag Race Down Under, which showcases drag talent from Australia and New Zealand, RuPaul is stepping down as a host. According to Entertainment Weekly's Joey Nolfi, Michelle Visage will take over hosting duties. RuPaul expressed gratitude, stating, "It has been my great honor to bring Drag Race to Australasia," and voiced excitement for the show's future under Visage's leadership. In response, Visage expressed appreciation for the opportunity and emphasized her commitment to supporting the queens and encouraging them to embrace their uniqueness. RuPaul will maintain his role as an executive producer for Drag Race Down Under. Regular judge Reese Nicholson will join Michelle Visage on the judging panel, with additional Down Under queens and celebrity guest judges rotating throughout the season. Visage has been a consistent judge since season 3 of the flagship series and has appeared in the RuPaul-hosted spin-offs. While she made a 1-episode appearance in Canada's Drag Race Season 1, this marks her first full season as the main host of a Drag Race series. It is unclear if the show's title will change to Drag Race Down Under or will remain the same with Visage as the new host. Drag Race fans wonder what the change means, especially against the backdrop of the recent controversies surrounding Mama Ru. Sources close to the story say this is a first reflection of RuPaul making decisions that will begin to limit her travel and time commitments to the huge variety of Drag Race properties around the world.
Exciting stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny how we go from what we were just talking about into Drag Race, but that's why this platform is so unique. I have never even seen Drag Race Down Under. I didn't even know that it existed, but Michelle Visage has been Team Ru now since forever. And she has also branched out quite a bit and done multiple things on her own that are nothing to do with Drag Race, right? So she has starred in multiple different musicals on the West End. She just finished doing the Addams Family concert with Broadway royalty. Ramin Kamalu is his last name. And they did that on the West End as well. She's a huge, huge name in London. So I don't think that has any connection to Australia, but it is nice to see that she is doing her own thing. And Mama looks fucking snatched in that picture with that bob right there. So I'm here for it. I will watch it. I don't think it means RuPaul is going to start stepping down from other Drag Race franchises and cities, but we never know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important. I mean, I could see why he was like, you know what, Australia, that's literally the furthest place away on Earth from where I live.
And he's going all over. I mean,
yeah. So I see why he was like, you know what, they got big spiders, snakes. Michelle, you take that one.
Right.
When I think of RuPaul Drag Races, I will never forget when RuPaul was still trying to really figure out how to become more than that album that she launched so many years ago at Bill's Filling Station. I'm in the front row. I'm watching RuPaul and performing at Bill's Filling Station, probably for $2,500 or $5,000. And now all of a sudden, iconic, multimillionaire, brand maker, and more importantly, what RuPaul has done for the drag community of impersonators who have really helped inspire so many young people. There's so much fun about that show, but all the traveling, all the commitments, having to be Ru every day is probably wearing thin, even though it just seems like yesterday RuPaul was at Bill's Filling Station on Old Wilton Drive.
Yeah, you know, I like what you said too about the inspiration of the show, and I think that does relate to what we were just talking about in terms of Don't Say Gay here in Florida.
It's funny how we went from there to here.
You know, I do think that is something to talk about, right? The importance of shows like this, because especially if you can't, you know, go to drag shows, or it becomes harder to access queer culture wherever you live, or maybe you live in a small town that doesn't have a gay bar or a, you know, brunch place with drag shows. This might be your only outlet to see that culture and to connect with that aspect of queer culture.
Well, you know, Michelle's a Jersey girl, so
Jersey,
and you know, she's just, you know, she's a very fierce personality, and you know, if someone's going to take, you know, Ru's stilettos, you know, Michelle's going to do it and fill them right.
See, I don't hate me. I would have loved to see, you know, maybe a past alumni from Drag Race, maybe a trans person of color replacing RuPaul, and maybe not just the cis white straight friend. But I understand it. But I do think that there is room for all of the queens who have won or been on the show, even queens who have not, who would be a much better fit in the sense of the representation that we want to see a little bit more of on our television. So, sorry.
I think it's a celebration of never give up. You're never too old. RuPaul was around for almost 30 years before RuPaul Drag Races. And I think it's a celebration for everyone out there in the community, young, old. Fight, believe in your talent, believe in yourself, find people that believe in you. And, you know, there's a RuPaul story around the corner, and it's an inspiration to just living your truth, going forward, being your best you. Look what RuPaul's created, and look at all the lives that RuPaul's changed. Those queens make $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 to show up at clubs now. And, you know, they were making $250 before RuPaul Drag Races.
Or less.
Or less.
Yeah.
And, you know, I want to say, took what I was going to say.
I'm sorry.
But I definitely feel that, you know, at this point in her life, maybe she is stepping down. Maybe she is trying to make room for someone else. And why not it be someone that is, you know, a person of color?
Why not?
You know, but I'm sure that Michelle will do a great job. And I was wondering, do you think that this possibly would have anything to do with all that situation that we were talking about last week about the compound and
100%,
all of that stuff, with
100%.
her trying to step back a little bit from that as well?
Compound?
Yeah,
well,
with the
fracking. And the
fracking.
Kind of the activity that goes down on, is it a ranch or a farm? I'm not sure what it is, compound, to be fair. But yeah, I think that it's a step back out of the spotlight because of the negativity surrounding that.
I do too.
Yeah.
Next up, queer politics. 1 radical liberal, 10 is a radical conservative. New survey shows the LGBTQ plus average is a 3.9. A new survey conducted by the Independent Center of the Buechner Group on the LGBTQ plus Americans reveals significant insights into their voting preferences. For the upcoming presidential election, the headline of the survey is that the queer community is far more independent than may previously thought. Despite expressing more moderate views on many issues, the majority of the LGBTQ plus voters are inclined towards President Joe Biden over Donald Trump. The survey revealed that 30% of the LGBTQ plus voters consider themselves moderate, centralist, independent. Respondents were also asked to rate their political stance on a scale of 0 to 10, with 0 indicating the most liberal and 10 being the most conservative. On average, participants rated themselves at a 3.9, which may be indicating a preference for politicians to hold a moderate stance at a 5. The survey also showed that overwhelming 73% of respondents considered LGBTQ plus issues equally or more important than other factors influencing their voting decision, like the economy and jobs. 43% expressed a definitive intent to vote for Joe Biden, while 13% leaned towards doing so, compared to 28% for Trump. These queer voters trusted Biden more to protect their rights, largely because of the Republican Party's stance on the LGBTQ plus issues, which makes equality a partisanship concern. A separate survey conducted by GLAAD also indicated that most of these voters favored Biden over Trump. Zeke Stokes, a consultant for GLAAD, explained that the trend for LGBTQ plus individuals voting for Democrats is largely due to the Republican Party's politicization equality. So that means you got to get out there and vote. I mean, make sure our rights are protected.
Long
everything else we
story
talked
short,
about.
get out and vote. What's crazy to me is that there are LGBTQ plus voters who love Donald Trump. It makes zero sense to me. He has literally never done anything right, in my opinion. So when I hear LGBTQ plus for Trump, I think, huh? What? Joe Biden obviously is taking my vote, but out of the two of them, would you not take who's going to Trump? Not I. Anyone here?
Not I. But
I think people are, with the dual spending power, the older people, they're making, in some cases, the two male couple or two women living together both have hopefully good jobs, right? They get brainwashed on, maybe the taxes that he was allowing wealthier people to pay less taxes. Maybe there's a problem. Maybe they're thinking that the immigration is a little stronger with him. When I just saw that Biden's policy for immigration was the toughest one that's ever come out just last week. So I think that they're watching too much propaganda. The reality is, I think our community still is not where we need to be, to my point earlier, that we still have a lot of fighting to do, that we should be really interested in what concerns us and our partnerships, our relationships, our household, everything that matters to us as LGBTQ community members. None of this don't say stuff would have ever happened if a guy named Ron DeSantis was not in office, right? So it's all about who you vote for, and I believe that in our world, we still have to vote social, and a social votes for Joe Biden or LGBTQ.
Yeah, I think there's also something to be said about, a lot of people like to think about the political spectrum as a line from liberal to conservative,
It's not.
but it's also much more of a circle. And so what we also have to think about is the quote unquote liberals and conservatives. That line goes further. And then we have our what we call radicals and our reactionaries. And the radicals and reactionaries get closer together in terms of how they're willing to respond to the current system. And so I think what we might also be seeing within our community, and this is not a defense of anyone who thinks this way, but I think it's what we're seeing is people frustrated with the system and seeing Donald Trump as an alternative to the system, whereas Joe Biden is very much established and he's a very good figurehead almost for that established system, or the establishment, as people like to reference.
The mere fact that we have a global audience and we saw the statistics, there are people watching that are the Trump supporter. And I just would like to confirm that there are some very solid worldly views that were important, that were implemented. Start paying your fair share and really tough on the border. I get all that. But if you're an LGBTQ community member, what matters to you most is your household, your people, everything. So, you may see some of the things that might matter to you, but do they really matter to you in your household? And I just think that votes Joe Biden. If you're a true LGBTQ community member and you want your community well served, that's your vote. If immigration and paying less taxes is more important to you than your gay daughter or son or grandson, then shame on you.
I think I might rustle a few feathers here, but I also think this is where my critique as a queer young black man is that white gays are also part of the problem with our community. I think we see, if you look at those gays for Trump and you look at the picture of their rallies, who's there? It's not people that look like me. There might be the one or two that they station for the photo, but it's a pretty good picture of the Republican Party more broadly if you look at who's showing up to these events.
And I think a lot of people, like you said before when you were talking about taxes and things of that nature, a lot of people are more concerned about their pockets than they are any of the other social justice issues. They don't care about the Don't Say Gay. They don't care about the bathroom issues. They don't care about the woke stuff and all of that. I have family members who have voted for Trump previously and will vote for Trump again because they're voting their pocket. They're not thinking about that niece who happens to be a trans woman that's affecting, or their brother who happens to be a gay person. They're not concerning themselves with any of those things. The only thing that they're concerned about is their pocket, and it's really sad.
Yeah, and that's the problem.
It's really sad that that's the only thing that you're worrying about.
Right. And I think that even speaks to what a lot of the queer community considers equality. I think a lot of our community focuses on, for a lot of the queer community, marriage equality was the end all be all.
You want
yeah.
more to do.
And it's but there's also what if we investigate why do married couples get certain benefits that non-married individuals don't get, and how that actually has an impact on all kinds of families, not just queer ones, but single mothers or single parents, I should say, for example, et cetera. Why aren't they getting the tax benefits that married couples get, right? So I think that there's this limited view to what is actually affecting queer people. People are talking about, wanting access to traditionally, I'll say straight male spaces, boardrooms, etc. But what are we doing to build our own power, right? Where is I don't necessarily, how many times can you bring a folding chair before you say, well, let's just host a different function?
That's really,
that was a lot. I agree.
Yeah, I don't think we should even be having this conversation if you really care about your community and you care about, your future children, grandchildren, the gay kids around this country, the transgender kids. If you care about them, you're voting Biden, because nobody on the Republican side, or very few, are stepping up for us and for our people. And at the end of the day, I think that's why we're all here, to serve our community and best serve our people.
Most definitely.
In fact, can I actually just push back on the vote Biden thing, though? I don't believe I'm not voting for Trump, and if it comes down to
do whatever you want.
I will, if I have to, cast my ballot for Biden over Trump. But I think we also need to push back on this idea that Biden is here Biden and Trump are one of the same. They are cut from the same cord. The only difference is Biden is polished and understands Biden is a diplomat, I'll put it this way, and Trump is not. Biden has the political savvy to know to not say certain things, and we have seen him also falter. I mean, even if we look at when he was running, right, the interaction between him and Kamala when she called him out about the busing issue. If we look at Joe Biden's history, Joe Biden is not someone who we should be out here, oh, Biden is here to save the gays. Joe Biden has a base that will get him votes, but beyond that, he's the only option.
So we have to lean into that.
I also think what we're seeing too, and this goes back to another issue, is especially for younger voters, we are very disillusioned with Joe Biden. And I will say, we need a ceasefire in Gaza. I will not sit here and promote and yell my praises to Joe Biden, who a lot of people in my generation feel should be called Genocide Joe. And so I'm not going to sit here and be quiet and say oh yeah, Joe Biden is our only solution. I'm very proud of all the people who went out and voted uncommitted in the Democratic primaries that we've been seeing. We need to be pushing for younger politicians. There's no, this is elder abuse at this point.
No, it's
and
not, but
we
so-
need to
this
rein
is
this
not
in.
new.
So I agree.
This has been pushed already, though. This is
So,
not new news.
okay, hold on. So I feel like if you're not part of the solution, then you're part of the problem. If those votes that people are not putting toward Biden, that they're putting towards uncommitted or whatever the case may be, to me, that's a vote that could be going towards Biden.
Well, but this is in the primary, so this is part of the solution
Okay.
because it's in the primary where it's Biden versus no one, which is already a problem because how are we a democracy and my only two options are Donald Trump and Joe Biden? And you want to tell me that this is a democracy? There is a very important quote. I forget who it's from, but it says something along the lines of, I don't care who you vote for so long as I get to nominate everyone on the ballot. The Republican Party and the Democratic Party in this country are one party that drives the division between us to make us think they're different. And while we sit here debating the merits of Joe Biden versus Donald Trump, it is distracting us from the very real fact that both of those men are keeping the same system in power, that both of those men have no interest in actually changing our country in a way that benefits people, quite frankly, that look like me.
But one of those
disagree.
presidents, though, has brought more exposure to people like you, to more trans people,
It's marketing,
to
though.
women, but he really cares about showing the world that all of us at this table are just as capable of doing anything and everything anybody else could do, where there was a time in this world where they only thought that a rich white man could make a good decision. We've come a long way to everyone at this table having a voice.
So why did he think he was the most competent to run then? If I feel there's a lot of non-old white guys that Joe Biden could have gotten behind and said, I support this person. But he was cocky enough to think that him, the old white guy who was Barack Obama's vice president, is a success. And it's sad to say that because I feel like...
I don't know if he thought that or if everyone else thought that
But
as well.
again, that's by design because that's the Trump versus
I think
Biden.
the DNC
Biden
made
is
the
some
decision that
angel.
nobody has...
Hold on, one person's going to talk at once. One person's going to talk
think
at
that,
once.
you know, if you look at the article, which we kind of strayed from a little bit, it says most LGBT want to be moderates. They want somebody that's in the middle. We're looking at the two extremes, and those are our two choices, two extremes, where the politicians hopefully are listening to this broadcast are saying, we're screaming for moderates. So we need somebody in that moderate category, in that gray area.
Well, there was a time for 100
agree
years
with
where the
you.
middle only won.
I agree with
When
you
you're
in
in
the
the middle.
sense Joe Biden and Trump are both wonky, but I agree with you in the sense any vote that isn't going towards what could possibly change our lives in the better, everyone's life for the better, is a vote that's not going to help. So I agree with many, many points here. I think that you are extremely correct in what you're saying. I think that unfortunately, though, this problem has been around for a really long time. Like Joe Biden has been in Congress for a very long time. Donald Trump has been in this game, although not in a presidential position before this, for a very long time. So the work has to start with like the tops, you know, and I don't know as a person in this seat how we get the word out that we need different options here for our president.
We do.
But that is what I gathered from this conversation, and I wouldn't know what steps to take to do that other than we have to all like storm the White House. And but I'm not even joking, because like what other steps, truly realistically, other than sharing it here on our platform? And everyone's point was correct, by the way. What more can we really do as opposed to get angered by it and then use that anger for passion and for change? What steps can be taken, really? Is there something is there a website I can learn more about? Like, what do I do from here? That's my question.
I think the DNC goes and finds a Vivek Ramaswamy that's articulate, young, smart, accomplished, because he's a threat to us, because he's going to be a Republican powerhouse, and he's so clearly in the middle and a moderate on all his stances. I watched many of his rallies. He loves trans people. He embraces the gay community. He wants equal rights. Vivek Ramaswamy could easily be a Democrat, and he's a guy that's, you know, that young, powerful, stand up for America, let's do it right, serve equality. He's pretty good.
Adrianna?
Well, who I'd like to see is a Hakeem Jeffries. I think Hakeem Jeffries is amazing. And I'm not in disagreement with your point and what you're saying, because at another time, way back when, before all this was done, I would be having this conversation. But where we are today, and November is around the corner, I don't want to hear anything else but let's vote for Biden at this
Because there is no option.
time. Because there is no other option but Biden or Trump. But I definitely understand what you're saying. And like I said, at a different time, maybe a couple of years ago or before he was the nominee.
You know what's interesting?
Yeah.
There's a lot of conspiracy theories out there that are going to say that about a month before the election, some really strange, crazy stuff is going to happen where it gets passed over to Kamala, she steps down, and a new summer. There's some crazy things. And, you know, the world is crazy.
Yes.
So anything that could happen right up to that last minute, you might walk away with a big smile on your face.
And
Might maybe a Pete Buttigieg.
And that's
That
I was just going to say
a
that.
smile on my face.
Wouldn't that be nice?
So next, we are proud.
Don't-
conspiracy theory.
Yeah, let's.
So next, we are proud of our special partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. Supporting that partnership, we are broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine Cathedral at the Happening Out Television Studios. We broadcast Sunshine Cathedral's Sunshine International Service at 10:30 a.m.
We finish tonight's queer news headlines with a segment we call LGBTQ plus 1 minute news.
LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up courts. Florida man now charged with hate crime after killing a gay man. Florida authorities have arrested Gerald Declan Radford, 65 years old, for the murder of John Walter Lay, 52, in a Tampa dog park. Radford faces charges of second-degree murder with a hate crime enhancement. Lay was fatally shot on February 2nd while walking his dog, Roxy. Radford claims self-defense, but acquaintances say he targeted Lay for years due to his sexual orientation. Lay's friends also expressed disappointment over the delay in arresting Radford. The highlights ongoing concerns about crimes and LGBTQ plus safety. So many things that are so dangerous about this story. However, Radford's arrest brings hope for justice in Lay's tragic death. What an awful thing.
LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up trans rights. Lady Gaga does what Bud Light never did. Call out hate. Lady Gaga faced backlash after collaborating with transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney for an International Women's Day post. Gaga condemned the hatred, stating, quote, backlash would imply that people who love or respect Mulvaney and me didn't like something we did. This is not backlash. This is hatred, end quote. Many critics of AB Bev reminds us that Bud Light could have taken the same stance. Instead, it ended the collaboration and now a firm run by a top lobbyist for Anheuser-Busch Bush, Bud Light's parent company, has raised a huge fundraiser for Trump's re-election campaign. As a result, even the former president who criticized the campaign last year for collaborating with Mulvaney is now suggesting Anheuser-Busch is a great American brand that perhaps deserves a second chance.
LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up entertainment. Sara Davis Buechner Changing Keys concert hosted by GENVAS at Sunshine Cathedral on March 21st. Sunshine Cathedral Center for the Performing Arts, in partnership with GENVAS, announces the launch of a new series, quote, from South Florida with love, end quote. The debut event, Changing Keys, features award-winning pianist Sara Davis Buechner, inspired by the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The series kicks off on Thursday, March 21st. Buechner is a trans performer and has performed globally, including at Lincoln Center's Mostly Mozart Festival and for the National Symphony Orchestra. Sunshine Cathedral Center for the Performing Arts is America's leading LGBTQ plus live entertainment series. General admission tickets cost $35, while VIP tickets are available for $55, offering access to a post-concert wine and dessert reception with the artist. For more information, visit sunshinecathedral.org.
LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up business. CEO of RuPaul's Bookstore apologizes for carrying anti-LGBTQ plus Extremists books. Queer News Tonight covered a story last week about Alstora, an online bookstore co-founded by RuPaul, which faced backlash for selling anti-LGBTQ plus books by right-wing authors, including Chaya Rach from Libs of TikTok. Initially, Alstora defended its decision, but later quietly reversed it and apologized. The move, however, upset conservative media, which is now accusing the platform of hypocrisy. CEO Eric Restivo has taken responsibility and apologized to queer customers, RuPaul fans, and marginalized authors. In his recent apology post, he also explained the steps Alstora is taking to address the issue, such as introducing a flagging system for readers to report objectionable content.
LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up entertainment. Here's what's happening at Elton John's very out and gay annual Oscar party. Celebrities convey that the 32nd annual Elton John AIDS Foundation Academy Awards viewing party in West Hollywood Sunday, co-hosted by Elton John, David Furnish, Neil Patrick Harris, David Bookka, and Tiffany Haddish. The event raised an outstanding $10.8 million in support of the ending of AIDS epidemic by 2030. Attendees openly discussed the LGBTQ plus rights and the voting, emphasizing solidarity, resilience. Notable guests included David Furnish, the LGBTQ plus country singer Orville Peck, actress Michaela J. Rodriguez, author Chris Colfer, drag legend Shangla, and Shasta Colby, I know I did that wrong, actors Johnny Sicily and Danielle Frazier, model Dexter Mayfield, and Instagram star Chris Olsen. Toni Braxton, attendees of the event with her son. She teased her upcoming residency with Cedric at The Entertainer. That's it for today's news from the LGBTQ plus community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ plus evening news show.
If your community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Just like you, just like all of America, we have a large, very much audience that's so interested in LGBTQ news plus broadcasting, and it's right now on Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, and Amazon Fire TV. We are everywhere. Watch us. We are trying to make a difference.
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ plus digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support. If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world.
This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ plus stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of Hotspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network, as well as Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor, Eric Restivo. On behalf of these fabulous LGBTQ plus reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, we had great conversation tonight, including Adrianna Tender, Blair, James J. Lyons IV, and William Haas. We will see you daily at 8 p.m. to our LGBTQ plus world. We wish you a good night.
Good night.
Bye.